My phone is going off the hook because we are already crowded. We cannot take anyone else into the Zoom anymore. It's totally full right now, the Zoom. So that will come to speak to you. Thanks again for coming. We really appreciate you being here, and feel free to send as much questions as possible to us.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Jan, and thank you, Anthony, for having me on the program to open up the series. While there's a long list of things that I have done post college, I want to start today with this conversation about my beginning. There's some things that some people on here know about me and some people don't, but I'll share, and I will focus on 3 particular things that would be intertwined that I think would be important as you try to navigate the process of getting a scholarship. So for me, there are 3 things that were important through my process and has become part of my life work. Those 3 things are what I would call my 3 Ps: purpose, preparation, and perseverance. I am originally from Nelson Street, Port of Spain. I went to Eastern Boys Primary School. I went to Trinity College, and after Trinity College, I went to John Donaldson Technical Institute. Played at Trinity College, played at John D. And then in the club arena, I played for Cara Peterborough for a little bit. I don't even know if they still exist. Played for Maple. I played for Alvin Cornell Coaching School for many, many years before I pursued a university education. My journey is a little bit different in terms of how I got to school here. And the one thing that I want to start with is talking about preparation. While I played for Alvin Cornell Coaching School, I focused a lot on my game, but getting a scholarship and getting to school is more than your game. The preparation that also is required in the academic area is even more critical than your game. You have to be able to meet the academic requirements to, 1, be admitted to the institution, and 2, to be eligible from an academic requirement standpoint to be able to play. For me, I didn't pay as much attention as I needed to as a player on the academic side. And so when the opportunities began to come my way, I ran into obstacles of not having the right academic requirements or sufficient academic requirements. And so that hindered some of the opportunities that were being afforded to me. So I want to say to the people that are listening out there that when you begin the process, you need to have a firm understanding by NCAA eligibility rules. What are the requirements? How many subjects do you need to have? What specific subjects do you need? And then what grade levels those need to be. And in addition, your SAT score or ACT in some cases. So being prepared from a soccer standpoint is one thing, but you have to make sure you're prepared academically. The good part about what happens now is there's access to information, not only on the internet, but every school will tell you exactly what you need. The NCAA compliance website will tell you exactly what you need. And so you need to make sure that you have a plan that allows you to be prepared both academically and athletically. Quick story. So I was on vacation in Washington, D.C. back in the 80s. I don't want to give away my age too much. And I happened to be visiting Howard University. And there were some friends there from Trinidad who I knew. They were playing a pickup game, and they asked me if I wanted to play. So of course I jumped in. And at the end of the game, a gentleman approached me and asked me if I was a new student at Howard. And I said, no, I wasn't. He then told me that he was the coach of the Howard men's university soccer team, Keith Tucker. And he said, well, where do you go to school? And I said, I don't. I live in Trinidad and I'm on vacation and I'm going back. He said, wow, you really need to be in school. Let me talk to you about, maybe coming to Howard. So he started asking me about my academic background. And once I shared with him, he told me that I needed to get some other things done. I had never taken the SAT, but he encouraged me. He said, you're a very good player, but you need to make sure you can do the academic piece. So I came back to Trinidad with the intent of just doing the SAT to see how I would do on it. And I scored a 980 on my SAT, which at the time was probably a pretty good score. But what I lacked in O levels, I could make up either with the courses that I did when I attended John D. So having an opportunity come in that way is a little bit different than would normally happen, but not having the academic qualification immediately on hand probably caused me an opportunity to miss an opportunity that just landed in my lap. So later on, a year later, I had my SAT score, I had what I needed, and I actually got a scholarship to school in Iowa. And while I was doing all the processing for that, the coach left, took another job somewhere else, and I was left without a school to attend or that scholarship because the new coach did not want to honor the scholarship offer that I had from the previous coach. So I couldn't go to that school. And then I was playing somewhere else. Someone saw me and they asked me where I was going to school. And I said I wasn't. And they said, you need to go somewhere. There's a school in South Carolina that's looking for players. And I can get you the number of the coach. So I got the number. I called the coach. He then called Alvin Cornell, who was, Alcon's coach at the time, for a reference. And I got a good reference from Alvin. They made a decision to offer me a scholarship, a partial scholarship, and I went to the school. So, so that's where my journey really, that's how my whole scholarship situation came about. It was a partial scholarship. I had to find my own money and find different things. My family didn't have the means to support me, but at that point in time, I was determined to then pursue my education. So, so that's a little bit of how I got there. When we talk about perseverance, when I got to school, it was a week before the first game. I wasn't able to train with the team. And so I had to train by myself until I got a physical. So you have to go through a physical before you can actually train with the team. So I trained the day before the first game for the first time with the team. And at the end of that training session, our coach went over our plan for travel for the first game on the next day. And then he said, oh, I have one more announcement to make. I would like to recognize a new team captain, and I was named captain of the team as a freshman. That in itself put a burden on my shoulder that I think I was prepared for, but certainly now stepping into a new program as a freshman, having to make adjustments culturally and otherwise, I had to make sure that I could now help lead a program but it wasn't easy. I didn't have all the tools. I didn't have all the resources that I needed. I remember the first Christmas that I was at school in South Carolina. It snowed, which is very uncommon. Everyone had gone home. I didn't have money to travel back home. I didn't have money to travel back to my family in New York. So I had to stay in my apartment by myself. I spent my first Christmas by myself in an apartment. I remember walking through the snow out to the main street near the campus, getting in a phone booth to talk to my mom and my family for Christmas. So you could just imagine how challenging that would have been for me. But I was there for a purpose, and I was there to accomplish some things. And so I just had to learn how to persevere through all of it. It's not an easy walk sometimes. It's not a bed of roses necessarily. And I hope people don't get uncomfortable with this. But perseverance is a critical piece, because I could have not followed through with what the Howard coach recommended. I could not have followed through when the other school's coach left and they didn't want to give me another scholarship. There was another school one of my friends was trying to get me to, and then that coach left. And so it was an ongoing process that, that I didn't quit. I didn't give up. And the challenges that came with it, by the time I was a sophomore, I wanted to come back home. It was tough, and I wanted to come back home. So I called my mom and I said, Mom, I don't think I can do this anymore. And my mom, being the wonderful woman that she is, was very gentle. And she said, well, you can come home if you want to. We still have the apartment in Nelson Street. We still have room in the house in Trinity, so you can come. She said, but what are you going to do? Nobody sent you. You decided to go. What are you going to do when you come home? What are you qualified to do? And that was all I needed to give me that extra push. You're going to need somebody in your corner, whether it's your mom, whether it's a friend, whether it's family. But you yourself, you're going to need your own determination and perseverance to push through what might become potential challenges for you as you're on your journey. And the other piece that I want to talk about then next is about purpose, because at that point in time, once I made that decision, okay, I'm going to go through this, there's a unique thing that started happening. Other coaches from other schools were asking me, like after we play them, they will come up to me and say, hey, good game or whatever. And then they'll say, do you know any other players like you from your country that you could help us get to our schools? And all of a sudden, there I have this even bigger purpose on now I can help somebody else get an opportunity. So, so the purpose then grew into something huge, something realistic, in a way that I could help people. So even while I was a student, I started making contact with other people who were interested in coming on scholarships and recommending them to coaches and trying to open up some doors for some other people. So my journey became more than just me. It became the flag, it became my country, it became all the people that were to come next, became part of the purpose of my journey. My senior year, I finished my senior year, and then the spring season, which we just train and recruit and do things like that in the off season. We had a meeting at my school with the team, and the athletic director came in and made an announcement that they were going to end our men's program. There was what's called Title IX and gender equity law here in the US that requires publicly funded institutions to provide similar opportunities for female student athletes as they provide for male student athletes. And so I got thrust in the middle of it, being the captain of the team. My team had a big protest on campus, television. It was really massive about trying to keep the program. And the athletic director asked me, as the captain of the team, to try to stop the protests. So I made a promise to my teammates. There were two other teammates from Trinidad at the time on my team that still had at least 2 years of eligibility left. And I took it on my shoulder to challenge the administration, did research, did a whole bunch of things, and then took that challenge all the way to the Board of Trustees, where they were going to vote on whether to retain the program or not. But when I did my presentation to the board, they voted and agreed to keep the men's program, give additional scholarship money to the program, and also start a women's soccer program at the institution. So my preparation, my purpose, and my perseverance, all those things are integral part of my journey pursuing an academic or a soccer scholarship, sorry. I later on went on to earn my master's degree in education, and then a bunch of other things that I've done in coaching. You've heard from my resume, but I've been blazing the trail ever since, trying to open doors, trying to connect people. A lot of what I do now is involved with coaching development, training coaches, developing coaches, doing leadership programs for young people, for young players, and serving on committees and boards and trying to be a change maker in all the spaces that I operate in. The pro development team that I'm the GM, I'm also part owner of the team. And again, providing other opportunities for students that are in college, students that are out of college, students have not gone to college, playing in my team and getting scholarship opportunities as well. So that's the scope of my work, the scope of my experience. And I hope that my story is one that would inspire all of you to make sure that you're prepared, make sure that you persevere and you find purpose in your intent of pursuing a scholarship.